I am so excited about what happened this evening. 100 years ago today, my predecessor's predecessor, the Consul General of the United States, did a marriage ceremony for two Americans who were living in Suzhou, but who had to come to Shanghai to get married. And now, 100 years later, their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren are here in China because they want to celebrate the 100th anniversary of that marriage.
My grandfather, Kerry Touchstone, was a teacher from Texas. He decided to become a missionary, and he came with the Methodist Episcopal Church of the Southern United States to work at Suzhou University, or Dongwu Daxue. He came in 1917. That same year, a young woman who had received her 4-year degree in nursing from the nursing school that's affiliated with Penn, University of Pennsylvania, she also decided that she would come as a missionary. She was coming to be the head nurse at Suzhou Affiliated Hospital #1 that was affiliated with the university. And actually the hospital was built first. We heard the story this weekend when we were touring that some of the funding to build the university actually came from the Suzhounese who had their lives saved at the hospital. So they're really inextricably linked, the hospital and the university.
I was in awe, just knowing that these buildings and these places are still there after 100 years, and knowing that my great-great-grandparents worked in these places. Like seeing the old hospital building and walking the halls. It's now a hotel, and right next door is Suzhou University, and those buildings are just amazing. They're gorgeous. And walking the campus, and we were actually trying to find the house that they used to live in. We think we found it.
Yes. They met. I'm really not sure how that story happened. They passed before I was even born. I have been to the library in Shanghai, the one that specializes in foreign artifacts, and in the North China Daily News, they have the archives for that. So I have been able to find one article about my grandfather that he was in a spring review as a spring talent show for the university. That actually took place, I think, in May of 1918. Maybe my grandmother saw him performing in that. They ended up getting married on July 14th, 1919. And we have the marriage certificate here. They had to go to the U.S. consulate to get married.
在那个时代，外国人要结婚的话，所以有2个方法。第一个是在一个教堂，第一个就是直接跟领事馆。
About 8 years ago, a friend of mine in Dallas said, "Why don't you go teach in China or something?" And I said, considering my family heritage. They were also in China, and my grandfather was working at a university 100 years ago. It seems to make sense. So I started looking into potential jobs, and within a year I was here.
I am going into nursing, which is what my great-great-grandmother did, so I'm very proud about that. And I'm here visiting Ellen and here to celebrate the 100-year wedding anniversary of my great-great-grandparents.
So the reason why I think this is such an amazing event is because we can see how events from 100 years ago and how Americans who came to China 100 years ago and fell in love with China, it's influenced their family for generation and generation and generation until today, and it's inspired their family to come and teach and to work in Suzhou just like their ancestors did. So for me, this is a really great story that shows how people-to-people exchanges and how an appreciation of China can be passed on from generation to generation. And so it makes me hope that we can have more Americans come and live and work in China and understand China, because who knows what effect it will have 50 years from now or 100 years from now. And at the same time, we need more, I think, more people from China, from Shanghai, from Suzhou, to go to the United States and then come back, because for the same token, who knows what effect that's going to have 20, 30, 50, or 100 years from now. So for me, this is a story of great optimism, and it's one I'm very proud to be a part of.